Good morning, everyone. I will ask the same question I ask every year. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. I generally carry this microphone around, but I'm going to try to do it without holding it. So, if my voice fades, because, you know, as one gets older, one's voice diminishes. And when I get older, mine will too. A reminder, there's no smoking, obviously, or eating in the auditorium. And thanks to the good people at the little school, there will be a lunch today at noon. If we have not completed the meeting by noon, I will break at noontime or thereabouts and recess for 45 minutes for lunch and then come back and complete the meeting. A couple of points about the rules. All the motions and remarks and discussions should be directed to the moderator, that's me. You have to be recognized before you take the floor. And it's important that the town clerk know who is talking, who's making the motions, who's seconding, et cetera, so they can be identified in the minutes of the meeting, which is a matter of state law. So if you would not mind, when you are making a motion, unless we obviously know who you were because you just did it a minute ago, would you say your name? We're going to try to do this without microphones, although we have one that can be passed around. So it's very helpful when people speak if they would stand up and try to use their outdoor voice as opposed to their indoor voice to address the audience. Robert's Rules of Order control the procedures at the town meeting. But if you disagree with anything that I rule, any of my rulings, the law provides that any voter can rise to ask that my ruling be voted upon by the voters present. And a majority of you can overrule any ruling that I make. And this is your meeting. And if you disagree with anything that I rule, a majority of you can decide what's fair and just under the circumstances. Each article, which I will go through, requires a motion to place before the meeting. I will state the article, ask for a motion and a second, and then restate the article to place it under consideration and begin debate. When you move the article, again, please identify yourself to the clerk. Once you have spoken on any article, you will not be recognized a second time until everybody else who wants to speak has spoken. Articles can be amended, and amendments can be amended, but to keep our sanity together, we're going to limit it to 2 amendments at a time. The election of members of the Select Board and listers must be under Vermont law by paper, that is, by secret ballot. If a nomination is not contested, I will simply ask for a motion to direct the town clerk to cast 1 paper ballot for the nominee. If there are 2 nominees, we will line up to be checked in and vote at the front of the auditorium by paper ballot, and the candidate with the majority will be elected. If there are 3 or more nominees for an office, the winner will be the one with the majority. There are 2 select board positions that are up for election at this meeting. I'm going to ask the candidates for the select board to speak a few words about their candidacy and be available for questions from you, the voters. We've done this for the past few years, and people have told me they like the opportunity to learn more about the candidates for important offices in our town. So we'll do it again. When it comes to voting on an article, a division of the House, that's called a division of the House, it's a standing vote, can be requested by any one voter before or after a voice vote is called. If the voice vote is not clear, I may call on you for a standing vote. A paper ballot, a secret ballot, one that comes down to take place here, can be called on any article upon the request of 7 voters. And if you wish to have a paper ballot on an article, then 7 of you stand, and that will happen. Debate can be cut off by a motion to call the question and a 2/3 vote to do so, but you must be recognized by the moderator in order to make such a motion. Crying out, as has happened in the past, yelling out, "Call the question," will not work. Motions to call the question require a second, and they are not debatable. State law prohibits consideration of articles that have not been warned in the town report. That means you cannot make amendments to articles that would significantly change them from the articles that were warned. And also, as I think you know, under other business at the conclusion of the meeting, you can make any comments or announcements and the like, but no binding action can be taken. Are there any people here who are new voters, first-time voters here? Stand up and introduce yourself.
Melina Menzi.
Who?
Melina Menzi.
Melina Menzi.
Yes.
Howie Brassa.
Thank you very much.
Mark Breffner.
Mark, thank you. Anybody else?
Fred Probst.
Good to see you.
And Jennifer Probst.
Thank you.
Nice to be curly.
Howdy.
Hi.
Anybody else? And how about the folks who are here who are not voters? Could you stand up so we can keep track of you? Good to see you all. Thank you very much. All right. One of the traditions of the Weston Town meeting is to remember those among us who have passed away during the previous year. If you would please rise and stand in silence, I will read their names. Eric S. Jensen, Brother Columba Coyne, Ethel Victoria Alvick, Mary Bradshaw, Alex Leslie Paul, Ryland Richard Spaulding Jr., Rob Roy McGregor, Glenn W. Hart. May we hold them all in our memories. Thank you very much. A couple of announcements. I've been asked by the town clerk to remind you that dogs must be registered by April 1 and that their rabies certificates must be up to date. There are other announcements to be made. I think I saw our representative here somewhere. Yes, I did. Oliver, would you like to talk to us? Unless there's objection, because non-voters may not speak unless there's no objection. There was a time when Madeline Cunin tried to address a town meeting. It was not hers and she was objected to, so I hope that won't happen today. Oliver, it's yours.
Great. Well, I thank the voters of Weston for not rejecting an opportunity for me to speak. It hasn't happened yet, at least. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Oliver Olson. I'm your state representative up in Montpelier. I represent the towns of Weston, Londonderry, Stratton, Winhall, and Jamaica. So I'd like to talk briefly about some of the challenges that I see facing the state of Vermont and some of the things that we're doing up in Montpelier. So from my perspective, probably the biggest single issue, and it's really not a single issue, it's a multi-threaded issue facing Vermont today and for the foreseeable future, is our changing demographic profile. We're the second oldest state in the country after Maine, yet we have one of the lowest birth rates in the nation. And we see the manifestation of these trends in everything from our declining student enrollment to a shrinking number of taxpayers under age 65. To put this into perspective, over the last 7 years, we've lost over 10,000 taxpayers under age 65. And we've lost a little over 10,000 students in the past decade. So at the same time, we continue to see spending on human service programs and education rise, even in the face of an anemic economic recovery and a weak tax base. Getting to the root of these underlying issues is no easy task. There are no simple solutions. The challenges we're seeing in Vermont with this shifting demographic is not unique to Vermont. It's an issue that we're seeing across rural America. But making Vermont, and specifically our region in southern Vermont, is a great place to live and a great place to raise a family has been and continues to be one of my biggest priorities. I've spoken at length about Act 46. Hopefully, many of you have had an opportunity to attend one of the forums I did last year. This was a landmark piece of legislation that was passed last year in response to the declining enrollment we've seen across the state. And the objective is to try to create a more sustainable governance model that will allow us to continue to provide a high-quality education for our students at a cost that we can afford. On a related note, economic development is another fundamental issue, particularly here in southern Vermont. If you look at Chittenden County, a relatively urban area, at least by Vermont standards, They have a very robust economy, but as soon as you get outside of Chittenden County, and particularly here in southern Vermont, we just have not seen the economic recovery following the Great Recession that many places, both in and outside of Vermont, have seen. So last year, I helped lead the charge to create a special economic development zone for southern Vermont. And with that legislation, a task force was created, headed by our very own moderator here, Mr. Wayne Granquist. That task force looked at a number of economic issues in southern Vermont and some of the solutions for improving the economic vitality of southern Vermont. That committee issued its report in December. They came before the legislature, specifically the House and Senate Economic Development Committees.
Copies in the lobby.
Oh, thank you, excellent. And there are copies of the report in the lobby as well. There are a number of specific recommendations. I won't go into all of them, but some of them do require some funding from the state, which is something that myself and Wayne and others, including several of my legislative colleagues, have been working on. The other issue that I continue to hear about is Vermont Health Connect. Obviously this was not what we would call a successful deployment. I work in the information technology space. I've had a lot of experience managing both successful and not so successful IT projects. This one, I would say, falls very much in the category of not so successful. And unfortunately, many Vermonters have struggled under this system, both to enroll, to re-enroll, to make changes of circumstance, etc. Many of the problems have been resolved, but recently, for reasons that are varied in many, we've seen an uptick in a number of the problems that consumers are experiencing. I would encourage you, if you have challenges with Vermont Health Connect, if you're not getting anywhere, please contact me. I'm happy to help. It's one of the most important things I can do is to make sure that nobody is left hanging in the balance. So a couple others, just very small notes, and then I'll open it up for questions. One of the other big issues that's really important for Weston and our local community is school choice. And preserving and protecting school choice. It's under constant attack in Montpelier. There was actually legislation, House Bill 200, introduced that would effectively eliminate school choice in Vermont by prohibiting the funding of independent schools such as Burton with public tuition dollars. These pieces of legislation we're seeing with greater frequency, and they require a great deal of care and management to ensure that they don't become law. The other issue I've been working on very closely is one pertaining to ambulance funding. We have a real problem in Vermont with how ambulances are funded through the Medicaid program. Right now, if you take a ride in an ambulance and you're on the Medicaid program, Medicaid only reimburses at 40 cents on the dollar for the actual cost. So every time an ambulance picks up somebody on Medicaid, they actually take a loss. And as we've increased the Medicaid and expanded the Medicaid population, it's becoming an acute problem. So this is something that I've been working very closely with, particularly the Rescue Inc. in Windham County. So final note, I have Senator Doyle. He's been a state senator of Vermont for nearly 50 years. He has a tradition of preparing a survey, a town meeting survey. I'm going to leave copies out in the auditorium, and I would encourage you, if you have a moment, to fill out one of these surveys, and you can either leave it with Kim at the town clerk's office. I'm happy to go pick them up there, the completed ones. This has been a tradition, I think, for 40 years now, and it really provides some interesting insights into the opinions of Vermonters from across the state. So on a final note, I just want to take a moment to thank local municipal officials, school board members, And on a day like today, your local town clerk, Kim, and her team in the town clerk's office, this is this is going to be a very long day and a long night, and definitely want to express our gratitude for all the hard work that these folks do. So with that, I'll open up for a few quick questions. Marguerite.
Oliver, what is the rationale of the people who are opposing the school choice?
It's ideological.
Ideological?
Yeah.
They really just don't believe public funds should be spent for
Correct.
a private school?
Correct. It's that simple.
What would they do in a situation like we are in, where there is no public school that could take all of our students?
I think their hope is that a public school would evolve in its
Spring out of the... How serious is it?
Like I said, it's very serious. It's, one thing we lose sight of, this is a tradition that we're used to in our community, but if you look across the state, we have roughly 88,000 students across the state. Maybe 2,500 utilize school choice. So it's very common in our area, but when you get outside of our area, other parts of the state, it's an anomaly. It's not something that's well understood, and it is something that comes under attack purely for ideological reasons.
How close did it come to passing?
So far, not close, but they nibble away and focus. They go after certain things. I think the tactic right now is more, around erosion than outright, an instant ban, if you will.
And, I mean, if it's only 2,500 students, why isn't the legislature doing something else with its time? Excuse me, that was an editorial comment.
All right, I saw another hand go up. I thought yes.
I was just wondering, you mentioned how many people are moving out of Vermont. I don't know, your figure was somewhere around 20,000, I guess, all told. But I have read and heard that there are a number of people moving into Vermont, and it's almost a wash. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, certainly. So there was a study, well, I wouldn't call it a study, it was literally a two-page piece of paper that came out that looked at some very specific data in isolation. And what it looked at was the migration patterns of taxpayers according to data from the Internal Revenue Service. And they looked at different age groups and how many people moved in to Vermont according to IRS records. So the IRS, when you file a tax return, your 1040 in the state of New York, 1 year, and then you file it in a different state the next year, there's good data that you can capture these migration patterns looking at that data. So this study looked at some of that data and came to the conclusion that the migration patterns for certain age groups, not all age groups, was about a wash. However, they omitted the youngest age group. So filers under age 26, when you look at the data for the last 2 years, there's actually been a net loss of about 400 taxpayers in that age bracket. And when you have a pattern of 400, and this was against a base of maybe 22,000 taxpayers in that under age 26 bracket, so you look at sort of that erosion of, say, 400 a year, you couple that with the fact that the average age of a woman who gives birth to her first child is about age 26, and you look at our birth rate, those don't add up to a good situation in the long term. Good question, though. Yes?
Thank you, Linville. Oliver, I'm wondering why we don't have more young people coming into this wonderful state to live. And one of the reasons that I think the problem is that if we had universal cell phone coverage, if we had internet, Wi-Fi everywhere all over the state, young people would be encouraged to come here, live here, start businesses. They could work from home. They could open businesses. This is an electronic world we live in. And I'm just wondering what the state is doing to try to forward that effort.
So another good question. So the state has made progress, not enough progress, to be honest, with the expansion of broadband and cell service. I would say, though, that that is not the only challenge. And as I mentioned before, this is not unique to Vermont. This is an issue facing rural America. And the millennial generation in particular, studies have shown they're more attracted to urban areas. So you've actually seen in many cities across the country, there's been sort of this urban renewal because, younger people have over the last, couple of decades have moved into cities in increasing numbers. So it's not unique to Vermont. Broadband and cell service is certainly part of the equation, but it's not a panacea. We actually have, if you look overall, while we have pockets of areas that are problematic, we have many areas that actually do have good coverage. I take your point about working from home. I actually work from home. I work for a global company headquartered in the Bay Area, and I'm able to work remotely. And I'm increasingly seeing more of my peers opt to do that. And I think, I'm not seeing folks in their 20s making that kind of transition, but I'm seeing folks in their 30s who are looking to start or expand a family and want to be in a great place like Vermont to live. And I think that's our sweet spot and that's our opportunity. One final question, and then I've got to run. Yes?
Pam Seagraver, what other kinds of businesses can we attract that don't necessarily rely on tourism? Because I think in talking with different people, and as we're experiencing a lot of weather and climate changes, tourism seems to be way down. So I'm wondering what other kinds of businesses would the state attract?
Yeah, so just the question was, what other types of industries could we attract to Vermont other than travel and tourism and hospitality? And I think I've always been a big proponent for the technology sector because it's clean. It doesn't require the same level of density. People aren't necessarily having to work in a factory or an office environment. It's a lot easier to attract people who might start out as telecommuters. I know somebody. A couple of the parents of kids at the Montessori school where my kids attend, they actually moved into Manchester and they set up an office. It's above Christo's. They run a technology company out of there. So I think there's a real opportunity there. Value-added food manufacturing, we're seeing, the Vermont brand has a lot of cachet outside of Vermont. We're seeing some, really tremendous expansion of the specialty foods industry. Looking, to sort of couple our agricultural heritage, our Vermont branding, and packaging that up has had a lot of success. Yes.
Could you give us a ballpark figure of what the state has started in new programs, a dollar amount?
Well, I couldn't give you a dollar figure without doing some more research. I wouldn't want to hazard a guess. I would say, though, that the rate of expansion of new state programs has subsided significantly since the Great Recession. During the boom times, the state had, for many years, had budget surpluses, and there was this concept of what we call a waterfall in the legislature, where we would make contingent appropriations, meaning if we had a surplus, we would fund the creation of a new program as a pilot. And the problem was, a lot of these programs were started as pilots, and then they turn into permanent programs. We've been dealing with not surpluses, but we've been dealing with some razor-thin budgets, so it hasn't actually allowed for the creation of a whole lot of new programs in recent years.
Because earlier probably fall, I had a conversation with you about the drug problem in Vermont, and you related that the state police didn't have the resources to deal with it. And I'm kind of curious, has the state stepped up to the plate, given them more resources to deal with this problem?
Yeah, so resources have definitely been committed to the opiate problem, but unfortunately not enough resources. And we're seeing this play out around here locally, we're seeing it play out across the state. But the challenge, again, is that we just, as a state, have had we just don't have enough money to go around. And we're dealing with cutting back. In fact, we've been actually cutting back some programs to try to make more money available for some of these other things. But no, we don't have as much money as we'd like to have to be able to fund these these critical initiatives properly.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for having me. Again, I'll have the Doyle poll outside and then copies of this report are out there as well.
Good luck getting to the other 4 towns.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you all. Take care.
I'm going to excuse me, commence the official part of the town meeting, and I will read the warning. The legal voters of the town of Weston are further notified that voter qualification, registration, and absentee voting shall be as provided in chapters 41 and 51 of Title 17, Vermont statutes are annotated. Legal voters of the town of Weston, in the county of Windsor, and the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet in the Weston Playhouse in Weston, Vermont on Tuesday, the first day of March, 2016, at 9 a.m. to act on the following articles. Unless there is objection, I'm going to waive reading the entire warning and move on directly to act on each one of the articles. Article 1, to elect a moderator for a one-year term. The incumbent is myself, Wayne Granquist. Do I hear a nomination for moderator?
Nominate Wayne Granquist.
And who made the nomination? Chris Moore.
Chris.
Is there a second? Thank you. Are there further nominations? I hope in vain every year. Hearing none, those in favor of Wayne Granquist for moderator, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you very much. Article 2, to elect a town clerk for a one-year term. That office is currently held by Kim Seymour. Do I have a nomination for town clerk?
Bill Seagraver, moderator Kim Seymour.
Kim Seymour, thank you. Any other nominations? Second?
Second.
Thank you very much. If I hear no other nominations, those in favor of the nomination of Kim Seymour for town clerk say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Kim has been elected town clerk. Article 3, to elect a town treasurer for a one-year term. The office is currently held by Kim Seymour. Is there a nomination for town treasurer for a one-year term?
Nominate Kim Seymour.
Thank you very much. And that was Marguerite Nixon. Is there a second?
Malcolm Hamlin, second.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Are there other nominations for town treasurer? Hearing none, those in favor of Kim Seymour for town treasurer for a one-year term say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Kim Seymour has been elected town treasurer. Article 4, to elect the following town officers as required by law. And I'll interrupt myself here. As we did last year, I'm going to ask each one of the candidates for a select board, either for election or re-election, to stand up and say a few words about what they'd like to do in that office, why they're interested in running again or for the first time. So before we vote, I'll ask them to do that. So one select person to a 3-year term, which is currently held by Ann Fuji. Nomination for the 3-year term.
I nominate Tim Goodwin.
Nominations for Charles Tim Goodwin. Anybody, any other nominations? Is there a second to the nomination of Mr. Goodwin?
Second.
Thank you. Hearing none, I will ask the clerk to cast one paper ballot for Mr. Goodwin for, I'm sorry, wait. Tim, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, I'll try to speak loudly enough so that I don't need a mic. I appreciate the nomination. Working with this select board is probably the best job I've had in Weston other than working on the Board of Listers. People ask me if I've lived here all my life, and I haven't. And it's not because I haven't died yet. It's because I did spend some time away. Any time out of Vermont, though, is attributable to the military. And having spent some time away, I know that Weston is a good place to live. And it's been my observation in that conversation that we just had with Oliver that there actually is a little bit of inflow of youth that I attribute probably mostly to Burton, but I'm sure that Floodbrook could get some of that credit too. Sandy and I bought the place that we live in from my mother in '78, moved in at the end of '80. It wasn't long after that the country store was thinking about putting a warehouse where Jim Poisson's house is now. And for those who don't know where that is, it's just south of where Sandy and I live, or north rather, toward the village. I went to a planning commission meeting because of that plan, and soon after I was invited to be on the planning commission. And then soon after that, it was a wonderful guy named Tom Curtis who lived up near the top of the pavement on Landgrove Road, told me that he really thought it would be good if I joined him in representing Weston at Wyndham Regional Commission. And so I did that. And then a little while later, over time, I'd spent time on both school boards, both Floodbrook and the local board. Working with Carrie Chalmers is wonderful, by the way. And from there to the Board of Listers, and then somehow it happened that I ended up on the select board. And it's a wonderful job, and I thank you very much. And I think that's probably too much from me.
Thank you, Tim. Those in favor after this stirring speech? No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I'm going to ask for a motion to direct the town clerk to cast one paper ballot for Mr. Goodwin. A motion, please.
I so move.
Thank you. Vice Chair Greenquist, Marguerite second. And those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The next select person to be elected is the select person to a 2-year term. That's been held by Mr. Goodwin, who has now just been elected to a 3-year term. Are there nominations for select person to serve a 2-year term?
I nominate Annie Fuji.
Annie Fuji has been nominated.
Second.
Are there other nominations? Annie, want to say a few words?
Alrighty. Tim, I haven't lived here all my life, but I think I'm one of a handful that can say they graduated from the Weston Village School. I spent a lot of time here as a child and chose to return after spending time overseas and in both business and nonprofit work to raise my children here, who are now in their 30s and both went to Floodbrook. Couple things. I really feel, in having grown up here, I've also spent a lot of time here, but served on many different boards and community organizations throughout, from the Mountain Valley Medical Clinic Board, working with the Londonderry Chamber of Commerce, opening a business here, currently on the Community Association, but I think this is, as well as working quite a bit with Floodbrook School as a volunteer, but I think that this really gives me a great insight, understanding of our very diverse community, a real respect for our Weston's core as well as our changing population as well. It's really been a privilege, privilege to serve with this board. In the 3 years I've been on this board, I've worked with 8 different select board members. It's been a time, obviously, of transition, but this is a great board. We all have different talents that we bring to it. We do our best to do our homework, and I think we have a lot of respect for each other and really work well together. And I really hope to continue to work with this board for at least another 2 years.
Thank you, Annie. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to declare nominations closed and to direct the clerk to cast one paper ballot for Ann Fuji.
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Linville has second. The next office to be considered is one lister to a 3-year term. That's currently held by Jim Linus. Is there a nomination for lister for a 3-year term?
Jim Linus.
Mr. Linus has been nominated
Second.
and seconded.
Mr. Linus unfortunately has to decline.
Mr. Linus declines the nomination. Are there other nominations for lister? Let me tell you what happens if this office goes unfilled today. There will be, at that point, a responsibility on the select board to appoint a lister to that position. And I am told, in fact, I believe that it's true that Mr. Linus will accept an appointment to that position. He doesn't want to serve 3 years. He will serve some shorter period of time. And I'm speaking for you, Jim, and if I'm speaking incorrectly, tell me so. So that if there are no other nominations, we'll just pass over that article. The article is passed over. Who nominated Margarita? Barbara Lloyd. The next office is a town constable to a 1-year term. The town constable is currently Tia Rosengart. Nominations for Mr. Probst.
I nominate Alvin Crandall.
Almond Crandall's been nominated to town constable. Any other nominations? Is there a second to that nomination?
Second.
Thank you very much. You accept it, Almond? Okay. All right. Those in favor of Almond Crandall to be your law enforcement officer, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Congratulations. Second town constable to a 1-year term currently held by Ryan Hart. Is there a nomination for that office? Mimi Neff has nominated Ryan Hart.
I decline the nomination.
Ryan declines. This is your chance to make headlines. Any other nominations? If not, we will pass over and leave the office vacant. Collector of delinquent taxes to a 1-year term currently held by Sandra Goodwin. Nominations for collector of delinquent taxes.
Sandra Goodwin.
Dennis Benson nominates Sandra Goodwin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other nominations? Those in favor of Sandra Goodwin for collector of delinquent taxes say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. She's been elected. Sandra has been elected. Town grand juror to a 1-year term, currently held by myself. Nominations. This is a relatively meaningless office, but I put it on my resume. Nominate Wayne Grandquist. Any other nominations? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. I appreciate the confidence. Town agent to a 1-year term, currently held by James Young. Those, a nomination for town agent.
James Young?
Thank you very much. James Young has been nominated. Any other nominations? Those in favor of James Young for town agent say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. He's been elected. One library trustee to a 5-year term. The office is currently held by Carrie Chalmers, who was appointed to replace Beverly Fonner when Beverly resigned. So in your town report, it may say still Beverly. Is there a nomination for library trustee?
Carrie Chalmers?
Any other nominations? Those in favor of Carrie Chalmers for library trustee say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. One library trustee to a 5-year term. It's currently held by Marguerite Mason. A nomination for that post, please.
Margaret Mason.
Marguerite Mason has been nominated. Any other nominations? Those in favor of Marguerite, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. You have been elected. One trustee of public funds to a 3-year term, currently held by Mimi Neff. Nominations for trustee.
I nominate Amy Neff.
Amy Neff has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Those in favor of Amy Neff as trustee of public funds say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Amy Neff has been elected. One cemetery commissioner for a one-year term. This office is currently held by Dale Griswold.
5-year term?
5 year.
5-year term, sorry, just read it. For a 5-year term, currently held by Dale Griswold. Nominations?
I nominate Dale Griswold.
Dale Griswold has been nominated. Other nominations? Hearing none, those in favor of Dale Griswold for cemetery commissioner, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Thank you very much. Article 5, to receive and act upon the reports of the town officers from January 1, 2015 through December 31, 2015. The reports about last year's activities are in the town report on pages 24 through 30. And this is your chance to ask people who are town officers questions about matters in those reports, things of interest and concern to the community. I'll open up the floor for questions. If there are none, yes.
The proper time to address...
Would you stand up, please? Thank you.
The town report.
I'm sorry?
Is it appropriate at this time to address an issue in the town report?
Yes, indeed.
I'd like to address this portion concerning the portion of the town report that addresses the placement of a cell phone tower to be erected, quote unquote, south of the Chester-Andover Road. I'd like to preface my remarks, if I may, with I have long been a proponent of the need for cell phone and smartphone coverage here in the town or the surrounding area, for safety reasons, if for no other reason. My personal concern and the reason for it is that we happen to live on Obedmore Road, which looks directly across at the Chester-Andover Road, as do a number of other properties on that road and on Burton Road that would be directly impacted by the tower in terms of property value or whatever. I'm in no way suggesting that we not have a cell phone tower in Weston. In fact, what I need to really know first is the exact location. The location stated as south of the Chester-Andover Road is a wide span ranging from right down here by the Weston Marketplace all the way up to the town line of Andover, which is a considerable distance. And there's many areas where that tower could be erected on that road or other places. But in order to do that, I'd like to know what the exact location of that tower is, not just south of the Chester-Andover Road, but the mileage, let's say, or northeast or east-west designation of where the tower is. Secondly, things like the height of the tower. The towers vary greatly. Okay. What service providers would be serviced by the tower? I understand it's an AT&T tower. I suspect that, like myself, many people in this town maybe use Android phones or Android tablets. An AT&T tower normally will not support Android phones. There are other things to be considered. For example, a lot of people have straight talk service with a fixed monthly cost for unlimited text and voice. I would think that tower should honor those protocols. And it does elsewhere. However, it should be noted that I'm told, and I could be wrong, that a great portion of the state of Vermont is supported by Verizon as opposed to AT&T. Now, Straight Talk, for example, has working relationships with AT&T, not on all towers, but on some towers. Now, I asked whether the consideration has been given or AT&T has been instructed, I shouldn't say instructed, negotiated, if you will, to support Verizon customers as well as some of these other service providers. Also about future requests.
I'm going to ask you to think about concluding soon.
I mean, I am right now, I'm at the bottom of the list. About the future. After these towers are up, people ask to put repeaters on them. As new products are developed, they want to put other things on the towers. Who has that authority? Does it have to be approved by the town of Weston, or can AT&T do whatever they wish? I told you my concern. I would suggest strongly that it not be embellished upon as a mock tree, pine tree or something. If you want a perfect example of something grotesque, just go up Route 100 towards Ludlow, and about 3/4 of the way up the hill, you'll see a fake pine tree tower, which looks like anything but. A tower in itself would be far more attractive. End of comments. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
As you may know,
I apologize.
I'm sorry, sir, that's enough. As you may know, the Public Service Board is in charge of the regulatory proceeding on such towers. The town has almost no reason to be involved except a statutory one, and has no control over the location. I'm sorry, if you let me finish, I'd be delighted to listen to you.
Excuse me? I asked if the town hall, if we can view the positioning of this tower and so forth. Are those papers open to the residents?
Yes.
The short answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Your comments are best directed to the Public Service Board.
To the Public Service Commission?
Public Service Board of the State of Vermont has jurisdiction over the regulatory system which controls the placement of towers. Any other thoughts, Mr. Johnson?
I just want to make a correction. I have an Android phone, and I also have an Android tablet. I live a quarter-mile from the present tower, and they work fine. There's no problem as far as that, and that's an AT&T tower. The one thing that I would say is that when that tower was initially put up, AT&T has a lock on it for the first of the towers there, I understand. I'm not wrong. But they have, that's my understanding. But after that, then other providers can be placed on the tower. And I don't see any reason why, I don't know why Verizon was never put on the tower. Because I know there are some people that have it. Throughout there was at one time, a long time ago, there was a decision made because of a dispute between Verizon and AT&T. So what happened was that AT&T was designated as the provider generally for Vermont, and Verizon was designated as the provider for New Hampshire. That's the reason why it's
Thank you, Bob. Any other comments or matters?
I guess I've got to make this a question as much as anything else. I think that there is in the town office the digital submission that we received from actually the law firm that was working for AT&T, and I think that's available to an individual that goes into the town office looking for it. You can probably take it home on a thumb drive and look at it on your computer. But south of the road means literally south of the road, not down the road, south of it.
Yeah, but that's the right.
And it's about 149 feet or 480 feet, whatever, off the corner of the house on the curve up there, the house that was Marvin
The
DeSouth.
south side is the road going up towards Andover.
Right.
I'm questioning how far it is from the town, from Route 100 up.
I think you'll get your answer in the town office by looking.
I would suggest that there have been several hearings on this matter, and as a matter of public record, there is a very detailed report describing the location and the appearance of this tower, the height, the distance from the road, which is quite considerable. I think Kim mentioned 495 feet. You know, it's quite far from the road. It's on property that was in the, I believe it's Nikki Pfister's property. But at Town Hall, it's not only a digital copy, there's, about 150-page report, which has been available for the last 8 months. So go and look at it. I think it'll address all of your questions.
Thank you.
Any other comments under Article 5? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve Article 5? And is there a second? Those in favor of approving Article 5 say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Articles, I see Roger Fox is back in the auditorium. Roger, we are not at your appropriation at this point, but I would welcome the chance to hear from you if you wish to talk about the Mountain Valley Medical Clinic.
May I, sir?
You may indeed, unless there is objection.
I've actually brought Mr. Bickford with me, who's one of the administrators. May we come down to one second? Thank you very much for your indulgence. This is actually the 40th year that I've come to expose myself to your comments, your arrows, slingshots, or brickbats. To tell you that the last year has been a momentous year for the health center. We finally gave up our independence. We were the last independent full-service health center in the state of Vermont, but it became too much for us. We could no longer afford it. And as you're well aware, we now work with Springfield Hospital in something called a federally qualified health center, which has certain advantages for us.
Roger, we need to hear you.
Which has certain advantages for us. And I don't think there is any downside to it. The board has put a little summary in your warning. The board has asked you to consider supporting the uncompensated care that we provide to people from your town, separate from our usual fundraising, which is to maintain, which will now be to maintain the building, and the board has continued to run the medical laboratory because the hospital didn't want to do that. So we still will need some funds, but otherwise I believe we're in a stronger position, and hopefully the next 40 years, which I hope I won't see, will be better than the last. Mr. Bickford or I would be pleased to answer any questions that you might have, or hear any comments, or even any praise.
Thank you, Roger. As I said, we will come to the appropriation question later in the meeting.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for all your support.
I believe I am at Article 6, to see if the town will authorize the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes to pay current expenses and any part of indebtedness. Will someone move the article?
So moved.
It's been moved by Chris Morrow. A second? Thank you. And those in favor, any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. It's passed. Article 7, to see if the town will appropriate $4,000 for the town annex building maintenance included in the town general budget. A motion to approve that article, please.
So moved.
Terry Chalmers, second.
Second.
Deborah Grenquist. Any discussion? Those in favor of Article 7, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Article 7 has been adopted. Article 8, to see if the town will appropriate $3,500 for the town annex paint reserve fund included in the town general budget. The town annex is another way of saying little school, for those who may be new to town. Will someone move the article, please? And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about the paint reserve fund or the town annex building? Hearing none, those in favor of the article say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. You've adopted Article 8. Article 9, to see if the town will appropriate $35,000 for the Fire Apparatus Replacement Reserve Fund. It's included in the town budget. The status of the fund is at page 13 of your town report. Will someone move the article? And is there a second? Discussion on the article, which is to appropriate $35,000 to the reserve fund for the fire apparatus. Hearing none, those in favor of the Article 9, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. We've adopted Article 9. Article 10, to see if the town will appropriate $5,000 to the Space Planning and Management Fund. The money is included in the town general budget. The status of the fund is at page 14 of your town report. And will someone move the article for consideration, please? Deborah Granquist has moved and second. Second from Mr. Benson. Any discussion on the Space Planning and Management Fund?
I'm going to explain that a little bit, please.
Mr. Morrow asked.
It's basically to replace the furnace in the town office. When the addition was put on, they didn't replace the furnace, and we've been advised by the repairman it's time to replace it. I believe it's someplace in the 60s, the furnace that was there is put in, so we're looking towards replacing it.
Other questions about the fund? Hearing none, those in favor of Article 10, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed, say nay. Article 10 has been adopted. Article 11, to see if the town will appropriate the following sums totaling $39,075 to the following organizations that included financial information in their request. Now this year, I want you to go to page 4, and you'll see a table there under Article 11. And you'll see that it has 5 columns showing the amounts that were requested in 2014, approved for 2014, actually requested by the organization for 2015, approved for 15, and then the last column is the actual request for 2016, which is the budget we're considering at this point. I am going to read the list of requested appropriations, which is the final, the right-hand column, very slowly, and pause after each amount to allow questions or amendments to be proposed. I am not going to read the zero request because they are covered separately in Articles 12, 13, 14, and 15. Anyone who wishes to amend the amount that I read from the warning should rise and move to do so. At that point, assuming there's a second, we will vote to accept or reject that amendment and move on to the next item. So beginning that process, the following sums are requested by the organizations and are included in the town budget. Cold Spring Park, the Western Community Association, $5,000. The Farrar Park Association, $5,000. The Weston Cemetery Commission, $500.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Hoyt.
I make a motion to amend that amount to $8,300 as per our budget on page, I think it's 54. Yeah, 54.
Is there a second to the motion to amend that budget number from $500 as indicated to $8,300?
Second.
Second. Discussion. As there is a note at the bottom of that table on Article 11, which explains that the request may not exceed $500, but may be increased, and they are asking to increase that at this point. And that's for maintenance, obviously. Any discussion on the Cemetery Commission's amendment? Those in favor of amending the amount from $500 to $8,300, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment has been carried, and so the amount has been increased from $500 to $8,300. The Wilder Memorial Library, $12,600. The Londonderry Rescue Squad, $3,000. GNAT TV, $2,000. SEVCA, Southeastern Vermont Community Action, Inc., $630. There is a representative here from SEVCA if you have any questions. Mountain Valley Medical Clinic, Floodbrook Association, Athletic Association, $2,000. Vermont Cleanup, $50. The Collaborative, $750. Vermont Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, $100. The Vermont Center for Independent Living, $230. The West River Sports Association, $635. HCRS Healthcare and Rehabilitation Services, $630. The Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice of Vermont and New Hampshire, $2,350. The Partnership Manchester Chamber of Commerce, $2,000.
Based on the report that appears on page 48, it's unclear to me how the town itself will benefit from this. I understand how individual businesses throughout this section of the state will benefit, but what does the town get for their $2,000 this year by participating in this?
Mr. Morrow.
Chris Morrow. I have a business down in Manchester and I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, which is transitioning to the partnership. So I can speak to this. I've been involved in this process. Briefly, what is happening is to address some of the issues that Oliver brought up and Pam mentioned about economic development. There's a lot of studies been done regionally. There's just been one in Manchester and Dorset on economic development. And to address all these issues that have come up related to economic development, poverty, lack of tourism, age, there's a lot of studies been done. Montpelier talks a lot about different things, but there's no actually doing the work on the ground that needs to happen to regionally develop our area and keep it sustainable and thriving. So what the Chamber, which encompasses 18 towns, including Weston, has done is transition into a new organization, and we're in the process of doing that, which is a public-private partnership. And we can't do this all with private funds, and we can't do it all with public funds. The partnership's raised over $80,000 in private funds, and my business has put in more than is being requested from the town of Weston, just to give you an idea of how vested I am in this. And taking a kind of a regional and a partnership approach to two things, mainly economic development and destination marketing, which means we need to build on our tourism base in the region. So we were actively going out to recruit visitors, and that process has already started, meaning going out to trade shows around the country and connecting with tourism groups to bring people here. Previously, that's been a passive effort. And really the other main initiative, which we need to raise money for, is to hire a professional economic development person who can develop, build on the plan that the report that you see here that Wayne chaired, the other reports that has been conducted, and actually someone on the ground who can do the work needed to be done to build businesses that are here so that they can grow, and then recruit appropriate businesses to the area, including tech, which Oliver mentioned, but other businesses that are appropriate to our region. So what we're doing is we're asking all 18 towns, based on a different scale. Manchester's being asked for $25,000 based on population and tax base. Weston's being asked for $2,000 to contribute. So if all 18 towns towns get together, the total amount of public funds will be $75,000. We've already more than matched that in private money, and we will build on that in coming years. So our approach is really a collective approach. There's no town, and certainly Montpelier is not going to fix these problems for us. So we need to do it ourselves. Someone needs to be on the ground doing this, and it needs to be a collaborative effort between all the towns, public and private. And so we're asking Weston for the $2,000 to contribute to that effort. And certainly anyone who lives here understands the connection between Weston and the other towns, including Manchester, and how tourism flows up and down the mountain, and how economic development can benefit all of us. So that's the short version. If you have questions, please find me after the meeting.
May I have
or right now.
Bill?
Bill Seagraver. We currently in Weston have a business council, which is funded by the businesses in town. Why would it not be best for the business council to submit?
You're losing me. I can't hear you.
There is currently in Weston a business council, which collects monies from the various businesses. Would it not be best for the business council to remit the $2,000 being requested of the taxpayers, since it would be to their benefit?
Go ahead.
And
Question for Chris as well as as the former president of the Weston Business Council and a business owner for 10 years in town. I just wanted to ask, what is there, we basically have very difficult time getting press releases in the Manchester Journal, many things, because it seems we're on the fringe of Manchester and the mountains. And we work very closely with the Okemo Valley Chamber, who does a lot of work and has done a lot of work as sort of one of the jewels in their crown. I just would like to have some sort of, I just felt we've been treated a little bit like the stepsister or in Manchester, with the focus on marketing the shires. I am totally in favor of the Southern Vermont economic development, and I really do understand the importance of this. My concern is that we are on the fringe of it and that we don't always seem to reap the benefits. As a business owner, I could say 85% of the people that would come into the gallery, and I would always ask them, where are you from? What are you here doing? I would say probably 85% were from the Okemo, Cavendish area. This isn't to say we have to choose one or the other. I guess I would really like assurance that either the Manchester Journal will at least distribute the paper, if not mail it, in our town, because that is sort of the Manchester, or is there going to be another publication? Just to assure that we're part of this Manchester group as well, rather, to be looped into it. And I would just like you to address that if you can, please.
Yeah. Chris, you want to answer that first? And then we'll go to you.
Yeah, just some more assurance that we're really...
A couple things. One is the Manchester Journal is a private company. We have absolutely no affiliation or ability to influence what they print or publish, where they distribute. That's completely out of the Chamber's purview. There have been discussions, but that's not actually really relevant to the matter at hand, unfortunately. The Chamber, again, just needs to work cooperatively, regionally, and this includes all of Southern Vermont. This study that Wayne shared is not just Manchester and those 18 towns, that's all of Southern Vermont. So that there's a lot of different organizations in Bennington and Wyndham and Windsor that are all doing their own little things. And what we're starting to see is these organizations talking to each other and coordinating and taking a regional approach to economic development, which needs to happen because we're all cash strapped. And so this is one piece of that larger cooperation and collaboration for economic development, whether it's Okemo or Manchester or Weston. So what we're encouraging people to do is really take a broad view of this. This is not a business thing. This is a business thing, but it's not a business thing. This is about economic development. This is our tax base. You know, you're talking about lowering taxes. You need a tax base. Oliver mentioned that our tax base was low and declining in the state, you know. So if we're, you know, it's not really just a business issue. It's about addressing our tax base and other social issues related to poverty and tourism as well.
Hi, I'm Dana Thompson.
Would you stand up, please?
I'm Dana Thompson, and I live in Weston, obviously. I've worked at Brooks Brothers 13 years this summer, and I meet people coming in from mostly the New York metropolitan area, but from all over the world. And I'm asked all the time, what's happening, where to go, what, you know, I think this is a brilliant way to spend $2,000 is to get Weston connected to the artery. Manchester's an artery for people going to northern Vermont to ski and to all the different resorts. I mean, I think that's a great way to bring us together with the rest of the areas where there's more businesses and places to get the wonderful world of Weston out, and, you know, to encourage people to discover. I have young people asking, you know, about moving here, and what's it like, what's the quality of life, and, you know, what are all the advantages, and it's, you know, I think that's a great way to spend more than $2,000, I'd say.
Marguerite?
I mean, I would like to say something in response to what Chris said. His business, the North Shore Bookstore, has been extremely helpful. Every time I have walked in with a poster or any kind of a request. I mean, I do understand that the problem is the Manchester Journal. I wouldn't suggest an advertising boycott until they, you know, pick up our press releases. But Chris is doing more than his part.
Any other comments on this appropriation? Moving on, the final appropriation is the Council on Aging, Council on Aging Senior Solutions, $1,600. So the question now is before us is, will the town appropriate the following sums totaling a new number? Which is what? To see if the town will appropriate the following sums totaling $46,000. Totaling $47,375.
Isn't it 39,075?
Just one item to change.
We had a $7,800, right?
Oh, right.
46,870.
Yeah, we had it.
46,375. Right?
What have you got?
46,375.
375?
Yeah, this was 8, oh, I'm sorry. 7,900. Excuse me.
Where's Kim when we need it?
7,800. Ice cream.
Kim, do we know the right number?
40.
We are about to learn the wrong.
870.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have folks from Floodbook here, probably can do it quicker than you.
I got 46,870.
We had $39,075, and we added an additional $7,800 for cemetery. And I didn't hear any other additions, so $46,875.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's why I added $7,800.
Okay. To see if the town will appropriate the following sums totaling $46,875 to the organizations that are listed on page 4. And those in favor of that article, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Nay. You have adopted Article 11 as amended. Article 12, to see if the town will appropriate $13,000 to the Weston Recreation Club as requested. This amount is not included in the budget. May I have a motion to put that under consideration?
So moved.
So moved, thank you. Is there a second? Second. Is there discussion on the motion? The article, as you can read, will appropriate $13,000 to the Weston Recreation Club as requested. If there are no further discussion, those in favor say aye. Marguerite.
Wayne, can I just ask, it may be somewhere in here, I missed it, but in previous years, I think, the Recreation Club, Volunteer Fire Department, Mountain Valley, and Neighborhood Connections were included in this list. Why have they been separated out?
Their request changed substantially from last year, and it's a feeling of the select board that we put these requests in the book, but we don't want it to look like we just rubber stamp and approve it. And when a request comes in at a substantial increase, this right here gives the voters a chance to ask for an explanation as to why the increase is such.
Do you consider that, I mean, Neighborhood Connections went from $2,000 to $3,000. I know that's a lot on a percentage basis, but it isn't a lot in terms of the town budget.
Well, that's why the select board chose to do it for 5 of us.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on the appropriation to the Recreation Club? Hearing none, the question is on whether the town will appropriate $13,000 to the Weston Recreation Club. Those in favor of the article say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Article 13, to see if the town will appropriate $36,525 to the Weston Volunteer Fire Department as requested. It's not included in the town budget. May I have a motion to place it under consideration? Who made the motion? Is there a second? Second for me.
I don't know. You can add.
Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the article.
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
what exactly is the money to be used for?
Is someone here from the Volunteer Fire Department to explain the use of the funds?
Yeah, I'm Brian Lundberg. I'm chief of the fire department currently. Yeah, the reason for the increase, and if anybody read the letter that's was sent in along with it, it pretty much explains it. We, as part of our equipment, we use what's commonly called in our areas an air pack and personal protective equipment, which is the turnout gear. We had a large amount of that paid for right after 9/11 through a federal grant, which saved the town thousands and thousands of dollars. And where a lot of this equipment has basically lived its life. The cylinders that go with these air packs are quite expensive, and they have a 15-year life, and that's it. After that, they are not allowed to be what's called hydrostatically tested, which means they're safe for us to use. So that means that all of our cylinders need replacement. The air packs themselves have gone through several different NFPA changes to make them safer, and so we're behind on that as well. And to replace one of those for one person, just a one air pack and one cylinder, is in the neighborhood of $5,500 to $6,000. And in order to replace those when the time comes, because they are nearing the end of their lives, we're trying to build a fund so that we aren't asking for a huge amount, which would be in the neighborhood of $50,000 in a couple of years. The other thing is that we are going to aggressively seek out other federal grants again, and hopefully if we end up with this, it'll just be a surplus, and we will adjust our budget in the future to account for this. And if we can get all of this paid for through a federal grant, again, we would more than love it. But that's basically where we're at with the increases.
Other questions or comments on the article? Hearing none, the question is before you is to see if the town will appropriate $36,525 into the Weston Volunteer Fire Department as requested. If there is no further discussion, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The article has been adopted. Article 14, to see if the town will appropriate $9,000 to the Mountain Valley Medical Center as requested, not included in the town budget. Would someone please move to place the article under consideration?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? Second, Malcolm. Discussion on the article. Hearing none. Those in favor of Article 14 to appropriate $9,000 to the Mountain Valley Medical Center, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted Article 14. Article 15, to see if the town will appropriate $3,000 into neighborhood connections as requested. Someone please move to place the article under consideration.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Linville. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Carrie. Questions or comments?
Question.
Yes.
I know that Neighborhood Connections does some pretty quiet but fabulous things for our community, but I was just wondering about the property that was recently transferred from the Priory to Neighborhood Connections. And I just wondered if there's anybody from Neighborhood Connections who could actually say, how is that going and what is that actually used for? With the Sabbath house?
Is there someone here who can answer that? Yes.
Yeah, hi. My name is Tom Oshby, and I became Executive Director at Neighborhood Connections last June. I'm not really new to the area, just if you haven't met me before, my parents moved here to Andover about 30 years ago, and so I've been coming here for a long time and came here to take care of my mom after my dad died. And so it's been great to work with the community here, and I first must say thank you for the support, not just from the town, but I see a lot of our volunteers and donors here. To answer your question about Sabbath House. So about 2 years ago, Sabbath House was given to us as a gift from the brothers at the Priory with the idea that we could use it as a resource for the community and ideally to help people who are homeless and are struggling with housing issues, of which there are a lot. Affordable housing is a big problem that we see with the clients that we serve, and so we have worked actually with the group in the community of volunteers and also with getting support from the state and other agencies to rehabilitate that property, and so that was done with a lot of community support and some money from the state, and with the intention to use it as transitional housing. So what we don't have at Neighborhood Connections is a big staff. There's just a handful of us. So in order to help people, we really had to choose people who have an ability to help themselves, but for whom affordable housing would make a difference as they try and move from homelessness to more permanent housing. So it kind of limits the group of people that we can serve, but we have helped now over 8 people come, a family and 4 adults who have faced homelessness for a variety of reasons, some because of illness, some because of joblessness, and others. And they get case management from our social worker, they get assistance with health issues, and they get support from the community, and they have gotten jobs. They have been able to save money, and they have been able to move on to their own housing. It's a sober house. Again, we don't have mental health clinicians who can spend a lot of time there if people have those types of issues. So there are oftentimes more people that need us that we can help because of those limits. But it's made a big difference, you know, for the people that we have helped. We still have people there. And we're actually now engaged in a broader conversation with people in the community about if we should make any changes to that, about a particular population that might benefit that the most. We do have expenses just to operate that. We pay taxes here. And your support helps that as well, of course, of all the other services we provide at Neighborhood Connections. It really makes a tremendous difference. So I understand that the change from last year was made as an amendment from a community member, and that's wonderful. It certainly, every bit makes a big difference. And so we were happy to ask this year that that be continued, but that answers your question.
Other questions or comments about the appropriation? If not, the question before you is whether to adopt Article 15 to appropriate $3,000 to Neighborhood Connections. If there is no other discussion, those in favor of the article say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The article is adopted. Article 16. To see if the town will appropriate the following sums totaling $850 to the following organizations that did not include financial information with their request. The total amount is included in the town budget. I'll do the same thing here as I did before. I will read these requested appropriations from the final, the right-hand column. The current Connecticut River Transit Incorporated, $250. Windsor County Youth Services, $600. If there are no amendments or concerns, the question before you is whether to adopt Article 16. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, and the article has been adopted. Article 17. To see if the town will vote to direct the select board to change existing parking at the town annex and the Weston town office to the proposed parking plan as described in the attached drawing and provide a walkway at a cost not to exceed $75,000. It's by petition. The petition and the drawing can be seen at the town office, and the drawing, I gather, is available in the lobby of the town meeting. The sum is not included in the town general budget. Would someone move to make the article under consideration?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. And a second in the back of the house. The note that the select board has added to the petition argument. Note, the Vermont legislature has not conferred upon voters the authority to direct the select board to change existing parking for a town and provide a walkway. Consequently, such a petition can be treated as advisory and non-binding, or can be denied outright by the select board. At present, the select board has no opinion on this matter. So your vote on this article will not be binding, but I'm sure the select board would like to hear your views on the suggested parking and the walkway. Is there any discussion? Yes.
As far as the parking goes, my personal opinion is that there's more than sufficient parking around the green for people who either want to drop off or pick up their children if they choose not to park on Lawrenceville Road. So I don't see the need for additional parking spaces. I also see the proposed parking as possibly more dangerous because it will cut down the line vision. If you have big trucks parked, out into Lawrenceville Road, vision would be greatly decreased. I don't have particular in one way or the other on walkways, but the parking I don't believe should be changed.
In the back.
Currently, I believe there's only about 5 actual spaces in front of the town annex and the town office that are actual spaces plus a handicap space. This parking would allow for 18 spaces total, including 2 handicap. Right now in the morning, there are cars that are parked on both sides of the road. Those are not actual legal parking spaces. It is not safe, and
That's it.
cars cannot travel both sides, 2 lanes of travel, if there are cars parked on both sides. If you go out right now and see how the cars are parked for this town meeting, there are about 12 cars in that same space that is used every day. And this parking, what has been proposed, would allow 18 spaces.
Yeah. Question, who is advancing this proposal? I understand the why now, but who's advancing it? And if a walkway is put in, who's responsible for maintaining it? At present, right now, the walkway on the edge of the bridge up to the library is not being maintained during the winter, so why, what benefit would a sidewalk be if it's not going to be maintained?
The petition was, is there a principal proponent of the petition?
Shirley Knowlton actually got the signatures and proposed the amendment. She is not available today.
Is there anyone here that can, you talked well about the parking. Anybody talk about the walkway, who's in favor of it?
I can a little bit.
Okay.
The walkway, I think, would probably be a similar situation to what the sidewalk is. The town does plow up onto the lawn at the little school, at the town annex, and that would have to still remain possible. So it would be a sloped curbing with walkway. So the town would still plow that area like they do now.
Other questions or discussion or comments on the article? Mr. Hart.
Don Hart. I've heard rumors that the permit that was issued for the water well serving the town office building doesn't permit parking within 25 feet of the actual well. And looking at that design on the wall in the lobby, it would appear that parked cars would be taking place within that 25-foot safety limit of the water supply. And the other thing is there's a permit that was issued in 2013, I believe. Part of the permit conditions of issuing the permit by the Zoning Board of Adjustment, there had to be emergency fire apparatus access between the town office building and the bridge. So taking those things all into account, there's a lot of spaces that are not going to be permitted, and so 19 parking spaces is going to go back down to probably 12.
Thank you. Yes. There you go.
I have a lot of concerns about this proposal, actually. I have the drawing in front of me, and it is, as Mr. Hart said, 19 spaces, including one handicap space. They're talking about moving the monument and moving existing road signage. I think that the little school is a wonderful asset to the community. It's, however, a rented space from the community, and I feel that a $75,000 price tag on this is like, I don't even think I could pave my driveway for $75,000. So I think that it's great that they're here. It's a huge, the project is way underfunded in this, what they proposed, and I think that we should seriously think about how much the taxpayers can actually sustain for a project like this. I also think that 19 spaces is aggressive, and I think that we would have to think about how those cars are going to back out into traffic. And I think also that you should think about the aesthetics of the community. The Village Green is pristine, and we have been designated as Scenic Route 100, and I think adding 19 parking spaces, moving monuments and signage, and backing out into that road, which is an extension of Lawrence Hill, I'm not sure what the road is called, but would be a problem. So,
I just want to,
We don't have the attached drawing.
Can I just hold you,
Yeah,
please?
go ahead.
The rules are,
sorry.
we want to, anybody else who wants to speak should have a chance. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to know how many children go to the school from Weston, and if the other towns are going to help pay for this. Why should just Weston pay for this if it's going to happen?
That's a good question. Question can be answered.
So I just want to clarify, this is not necessarily just for the little school. It is in front of the little school as well as in front of the town office. And again, to look at the parking out there currently, right now, if you look at the parking, it has nothing to do with the kids that are at the little school. Those are all of our cars, all of our vehicles that are here in this playhouse right now. You're parked on the green side. There are no parking places on the green side of Lawrence Hill Road. So it's not necessarily just for the little school. It is for the town.
Right.
Right. I do agree with this proposed amendment article because I do know driving a fire truck, when we come down during play season, there's a lot of illegally parked cars on the state road, and I do think that this will help with parking for play season because we do have a very difficult time getting down around the park because of the illegally parked cars.
I can imagine.
And I think it will help.
Other questions or comments? Can't see who you are, but I see your hand.
Stuart Duke. I'd just briefly like to speak to the spirit of this article because I've raised two daughters here in Weston, and both of them went through Little School, and I can totally appreciate the need to provide additional parking there. At critical times, it's very congested, and frankly, I feel dangerous at times because of the parking situation over there with parents trying to drop off and pick up their children. I confess I'm a little disturbed at the characterization of the Little School as just a tenant to the town. I think it's an asset to this community, and I have questions about the legality and validity and safety of the design as it is, and this question's probably answered elsewhere, but obviously it needs to be vetted by a lot of officials in the Agency of Transportation. But I'd just like to say I think it's a good thing. I know that the theater company would absolutely benefit from additional parking on nights during the summer instead of having cars stretching out parked on the other side of the green and into Route 100. So I'd just like to express my conceptual support for the article.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Steve Quevedo.
You stand up, please.
Steve Quevedo, new to Weston. Just a question by way of information. Apart from any bids you have from the consultant that's going to be, or the contractor that's going to be building it, and I apologize for not knowing the answer to this, have there been an independent study by a specialist about traffic flow, a traffic study, the design in terms of safety that would support this particular
I don't believe that there has been that study done, and I do believe an engineer needs to get involved in order to go forward. Again, this is Shirley Knowlton did, this is near and dear to her heart, and unfortunately she's not able to be here, so I don't have all the answers. I think there's certainly a lot of work that would need to take place. I would like to see, maybe not this article approved, but possibly amended so that we could go forward with an engineer study to be done to see what it would take.
I'm just wondering if everybody here understands that the speed limit in front of the little school is 50 miles an hour. That maybe could be addressed more easily and less expensively.
I think it's for sale.
Bill Fritzy?
Wilder House, the brick.
You have to speak up,
It's
Bill.
for sale.
I'm just basically against paving.
I've known for a long time in life.
Speak up, please.
With respect to the parking being eliminated around the green by putting in these 18 diagonals, I think you're going to have 18 diagonals plus parking around the green where the performance is. It's not going to eliminate anything except increase the hazard of people pulling out.
Mr. Probst?
Both Mr. Hart and Mr. Hart addressed the emergency services response in that area down there. You're saying that by having this project, you might have better access of your emergency vehicles, and Mr. Hart over here saying that it may preclude the access to dry hydrant at the bridge. Is that correct? Am I understanding what you're saying? So what's the fire department's opinion on the benefits versus the cost here for maintaining access to one of the primary water supplies in the town versus occasional access when the green is filled with vehicles?
I do know that.
Ryan, can you stand up, please?
I do know that this winter, that hydrant was not plowed out. I had to borrow a tractor from a town person to plow that out myself. So I don't know what the permit says about the hydrant source, but I do think increasing parking will open things up around the green.
Other questions or comments? Carrie?
Carrie Chalmers. I would like to echo what Stuart said. I think it's difficult to discuss a plan like this in a setting like this, but I would encourage the select board to really put some time into thinking about this issue and do some further study, because I think the town could benefit. And there's many points within the day or evening that those spaces are used by people going to public meetings at the town office or theater. So I think it would benefit the community. I think it does need to be done thoughtfully with community input, and I would encourage you to consider it.
Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead.
John Cadwallader. I'm going to suggest an amendment to this that would allow us to proceed despite semantic amendment. We've heard a lot of arguments both.
I'm going to disallow an amendment. This is by petition, and the petitioners are not here. And I believe that we should stick to what was warned, because changing it would be something different from what people expected to vote on who are not here.
All right, can I voice my amendment?
Let me explain myself a little bit better. Again, if you disagree with me, you can overrule me. My point is that this is not binding. It's merely advisory, that it was shaped in a way by the petitioners that they wanted to put before this body. And I think that when we try to change it, we are changing the intent of the petitioners. It's different from an article that's placed on a warning by the town fathers or their fathers and mothers, in that sense. So here's my take on it. If you adopt this article as written, it will tell the select board that there is support for the concept of a walkway and parking. They can do with it as they wish. They can still ignore it, or they can take it under advisement. They can do what Carrie Chalmers was suggesting, which was to go further and create some kind of a study, et cetera, et cetera. If they reject it, they know, if you reject it, they know that there is not support for this concept in the town meeting body. And that's what I think we should be voting on. To amend it, I think, is going to get into some confusion about what this article is really about. And again, I don't want to violate the intent of the petitioners who went around town, gathered signatures, and wanted us to consider this as it's written. Now, you wish to challenge that ruling? Please do. Jim.
Thank you for calling on me and not your wife. Never mind.
Never mind indeed.
I would support Wayne's comments and again refer to the fact that the petition, if approved, would be considered to be advisory and non-binding. Because, to your point, in your motion or attempted motion, you mentioned doing a study. I can't predict what my fellow selectmen would do, but I think it's entirely possible, let me say, that the first thing we would do is spend some money getting an engineering study to answer a lot of the questions that have been raised at this meeting, and then make a decision as to how to proceed with, as Carrie, you pointed out, the advice and sort of consent of the town. I think you said it very well, Wayne, but I just wanted to amplify that a little bit.
I think I actually had sort of the same thing that Jim was going to say anyway, but because my question was, because this is non-binding, I think what throws us off maybe is that $75,000 number in there, and so even if the select board decided based on however we vote that this might be a good thing to do, wouldn't the $75,000 have to be appropriated? This doesn't appropriate the $75,000.
It's a suggested amount.
But then the select board doesn't necessarily have $75,000 unless they choose.
The entire article is non-binding, including the amount.
One of the things we have here is a success story. Little schools thought of very highly. But being a success, you've got problems that come along with it. And for years, the town has fought to keep the village center kind of green as it can be. Now, because of the success, they want to carve up a chunk of real estate, blacktop. Some of the problems, and there's a paper here on the desk that somebody already related to, the well for the town office would be within the 25 feet. We have another well that serves the little school and the store over there, the village store. We spend various amounts of money each year on that well. When the petition was handed to the select board, the question was asked, have you spoken to Oscar Garcia, the man from the state, about, bringing this parking lot closer? We were told yes, and there'd be no problem. We asked to have it put in writing. So far, to my knowledge, we have not received that. The safety issue with cars backing out into the road. I guess one of the main things that will be looked at, maybe, is you've already had success of the little school growing this size. What's the next step when it grows even bigger? What are you going to do with the extra parking? And then this suggestion was made to me as far as safety for the children. If they're going to the library in the winter, have them make a path behind the town office, up between the town office and the river, and go across the bridge there and not go along the road. They could do it in the summertime too, because as far as I know, there's no rule against walking on lawn.
And
I guess I also respond to the spirit of the intended petition. that this has been a concern. I know when my children were at the little school as well, jumping out of the car, it's really a difficult situation to control, especially considering the legal speed limit. Also, both sides of the road, and the fact that it's two-way traffic. I think this is an attempt to look at a safety concern, come up with a solution, because you just can't say, we'd like, in a petition, we'd just like to put it out there for discussion that we want to change this. It needs to be more particular. I really support looking at this issue from a variety of perspectives, and because it is non-binding, it's not saying specifically this many parking spaces this way, or it's just a sentiment. Isn't this a concern to the town and the safety of children and residents that we shouldn't just pursue it and put it, the select board take some time to really look at this and address these concerns. I think the idea of the walkway, again, aesthetically and for purpose to try to connect the main part of the town with the library, that's such a precious asset to the town, and now you have to walk in the middle of the street to do that. And I just think this is a great attempt in addressing the spirit that I would support looking into in an advisory capacity.
Anybody who hasn't spoken previously?
Tim, did you have your hand up?
Mark Ruffner, would the select board still be able to evaluate that without this approved?
It's totally non-binding, so it would be an expression by this organization, by the town, of interest in that. Let me interpret it this way.
Yeah.
If the article is approved, I think the select board will feel that there is an opinion in the town that this should be explored. If the article is disapproved, they may still feel that way, but probably less so.
Well said, Wayne.
Yes. Tim's over here, too.
Dave Raymond.
Is it too early to call a question?
It is never too early to call the question.
Does Tim?
You wish to move to call the question?
I move to call the question.
Is there a second?
Second.
That is not debatable. That ends debate on this matter. And unless somebody else. Those in favor of calling the question and ending debate say aye. Aye. Those opposed who wish to continue the debate say nay. The debate is closed. The question before you is on the Article 17, which I will read again to see if the town will vote to direct the select board to change existing parking from town annex and the Weston town office to the proposed parking plan as described in the attached drawing and provide a walkway at a cost not to exceed $75,000. Those in favor of this advisory article, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
I'm going to ask for a standing vote in for tellers, Deborah and Deb Linus. Those in favor of the article, please stand. Remain standing while you're... We have two tellers that are counting. Thank you. Those may sit down. And those opposed?
Three more up above.
Thank you. Those opposed, please rise. Thank you, and here are the results of the vote. The ayes were 47, the nays were 37. The article has been adopted as an advisory article. Article 17 is approved. Article 18, to see if the town will appropriate $90,000 for the bridge repair fund. The fund is at page 13. And will someone please move the article?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lindenberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the article to appropriate $90,000 to the bridge repair fund. Mr. Moore.
Is this for a specific bridge that we have to replace?
Please stand.
Is this for a specific bridge or just for long-term funding of the fund?
The second, yeah.
It's for any bridge that falls into the category needing repair, I guess.
Right, or just falls. Let me broaden the response to that question. This is an almost entirely made-up number.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. I don't know if you all remember, but last year we talked about the road equipment and setting up depreciation schedules and funding that depreciation basically. That's an easy exercise. Try doing that with 17 or 18 bridges, most of which were built or many of which were built in the 30s and the 40s, and have 80-year lifespans. You can do the arithmetic. The projected useful life of a lot of the bridges in town is on the order of 7 or 8 years, but it might be 15 or 20 years. Also could be 30 or 40 years. Depending on, whether Irene's redheaded sister comes and visits us in the crazy one, comes and visits us in the next 20 years. What bridge construction costs look like going forward. Trying to tease a number out of that is very, very difficult. Some other issues are what kind of cost sharing are we going to get from the state? No one really knows. Traditionally it's been between 50% and 30 or 40% or higher or lower. So, this is a long way of saying it's a really, really tough number to tease out. And this is sort of the best we can do, but we all, I think, feel strongly that we can't wait for these bridges to fall down and then suddenly have to borrow a bunch of money to repair them. So we're just trying to build a sort of a war chest, if you will, to be in a strong position to deal with these problems in the future.
Other questions or comments? Actually, that is encouraging. I'm serious. That's a well said explanation. Do you have any idea, any Jim or others, what does it cost to repair a bridge? I mean, ballpark. You're going to have 100.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an executive summary and an expanded answer. The executive summary is no. We have no idea. Because bridge repair, the technology is changing all the time on how they build these bridges. And sometimes they get more expensive because they're asked to do more. Sometimes they get less expensive because they figure out better ways of solving the problems. Sometimes they get more expensive because the environmental issues that you have to deal with, like, keeping silt out of the streams or protecting spawning beds, get way more expensive. And these are issues that when you try to project this stuff, you just take some pretty wild guesses. And, you know, you hope they're reasonable, but who knows?
Thank you. Question is on Article 18, to appropriate $90,000 to the Bridge Repair Fund. No further discussions. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We have adopted Article 18. Article 19, to see if the town will appropriate $85,000 for the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund. It's included in the town highway budget. Will someone move the article, please? Thank you. And a second? Second from Ryan Hart. Discussion on the appropriation, $85,000 to the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund. The Select Board want to say anything about it? No questions? Mr. Johnson?
How's our new truck coming? Is that a bad question?
I think that we all would vote to have Alman address that. And I can see Alman has already gotten out his pencil.
Believe me, nobody's more frustrated about that truck than I am. We've been without the truck all winter. We've only had 2 trucks.
Alman, you want to explain the issue a little bit more?
Back in June, we had to replace the old International. Given this issue.
Yell it out, Alman.
Part of when we bought the cab and chassis, we traded the old truck in because they allowed us $20,000 trade-in. The truck before that, when we kept it, instead of trading it in, and we only got, I believe, $2,000, they put it up for sale. So the 20 looked a lot better than $2,000. We put the body to plow the wing out to bid. A company took it. We expected to have it in late November, 1st of December. We still don't have it. It is in the paint shop right now, I can tell you that. The body's on it, and they're painting it. So hopefully in another week, week and a half, we may see them. But I call them on a weekly basis.
Well, it's supposed to snow this week, so you
Actually, our grader was down for 3 weeks, so we were even without that. So nobody's more frustrated or pulling their hair out anymore than I have. Thank God, I know the skiers don't like this, that we've had them.
There are other questions on Article 19. Hearing none, those in favor of Article 19 to appropriate $85,000 to the Equipment Replacement Reserve Fund, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and you've adopted Article 19. Article 20, to see if the town will appropriate $25,000 for the Highway Maintenance Fund for paving. This is included in the budget. The fund is at page 13. And will someone please move the article for consideration? Mr. Hart. Second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Morrow. Discussion on the Article 20. Hearing none, those in favor of Article 20 to appropriate $25,000 to the Highway Maintenance Fund, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. You have approved Article 20. Article 21. To see if the town will set the annual salary for the town treasurer at $21,925 for the calendar year January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2016. The amount is included in the budget. Will someone please move the article for consideration? I didn't. No. Second? Mr. Raymond, any discussion on the article? Hearing none, those in favor of Article 21, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. You have approved Article 21. Article 22, to see if the town will set the annual salary for the town clerk at $16,825 for the calendar year January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2016, included in the town general budget. Will someone move the article, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Linville. Second. Discussion on the article? Hearing none, those in favor of Article 22, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. You have adopted Article 22. Article 23. Shall the town set the annual compensation for the select board at $1,200 each for the calendar year January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2016? A motion for consideration, please. Mr. Morrow has moved, second.
Second.
Mr. Raymond, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of Article 23, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We have adopted Article 23. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to have the town clerk and treasurer collect taxes due on or before Monday, October 3rd, 2016. May I have a motion to put those on the floor? So, thank you, Mr. Brennan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the article. Hearing none, those in favor of Article 24 say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We've adopted Article 24. I'm going to read Article 25, but I believe we have changed that number by our actions during this meeting. But I want to put the article on the floor, and then we will amend it to reflect the actions we have taken. So Article 25 now reads, shall the voters approve total general fund expenditure of $476,318.87, of which $213,514.98 shall be raised by taxes and $130,840 by non-tax revenues and $131,963.89 by prior year surplus. Will someone move that article, please?
So moved.
Mr. Roth? And a second?
Second.
Thank you. An amendment?
I have a slight amendment to that due to a...
Not on, Kim.
545, 643.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. We had a clerical error, so the actual total expenditure was increased by $750 to $477,068.87, of which $214,291.98 would be raised by taxes, and the other two figures remain the same.
So that amendment would raise the amount that is shown in Article 25 in the town report to an accurate number, which is
$477,068.87, of which $214,291.98 would be raised by taxes.
okay. Is there a motion to, that's a motion. Is there a second? Second, thank you. And those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. No, we didn't do the other.
Mr. Goodwin?
Either I've misheard or there's been a miscommunication.
Tim, I can't hear you. Stand up.
Either I've misheard or there's been a miscommunication, excuse me for not standing up. I think that we have other items that we're not in.
We're going to take those in consideration next. I wanted to amend the article as it was reported.
Very good. Pardon me.
Those in favor of this very technical amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Thank you. You have amended the Article 25 to the correct number. Now, we have taken actions during this meeting to increase that amount or decrease it from time to time. So would you now, Kim, propose an amendment to reflect the fact that we have now a new number beyond this number?
Yes. We had additions in Article 12, 13, 14, 15, and as I understood it, 17. Are we adding the $75,000 for the walkway?
No.
So we had an additional $61,525 added through those articles, bringing the actual budget
She said 61.
up
She must have said that. 61?
to a total
Wait.
I'm sorry.
We increased, 7,800 in
Why
Article.
don't we let her get the number?
I'm sorry.
Thought I had my calculator. The number I came up with, correct me if you're seeing something different, Tim, $538,593.87, of which $275,789.98 will be raised by taxes.
And the remaining numbers don't change, obviously.
Correct.
So the Article 25 will be amended by this amendment proposed by Kim to read, shall the voters approve total general fund expenditure of $538,593.87, of which $275,789.98 will be raised by taxes. And the other numbers don't change. There's $130,840 by non-tax revenues and $131,963.89 by prior year surplus. The question is on the amendment to get that number up. Those in favor say aye. Aye. As opposed, nay. I'm sure I've confused you completely.
Wayne? Can we review the final number?
Yeah.
Because we increased something, I think, in Article 11 by $7,800. And I didn't hear Kim say Article 11 in
Right.
additions.
Article 11 was a separate article, so we went from $39,075 to $46,875.
But that's also included in.
Right.
Budget still has to go up by that.
So the budget has to go up by that total.
Question is the $7,800 in the number?
That's a good question.
It's a very good question.
No. But it can be. So we've added the new number, barring any other questions, mistakes, is $546,393.87. Is that?
To my ears. I like that number a lot better.
Okay. As long as we can agree.
And what happens to the tax number?
Okay, so total taxes to be raised, amount to be raised by taxes is then $283,589.98.
Thank you.
I'm going to accept that as a friendly amendment and say that we are now voting on that number, which will say in Article 25, shall the voters approve total general fund expenditures of $546,393.87, of which $283,589.98 shall be raised by taxes, and $130,840 by non-tax revenues, and $131,963.89 by prior year surplus. Is there discussion on this budget? Mr. Lindberg?
Yeah, I'm just a little curious to get back to Article 17. Even though the article is advisory and non-binding, if a lot of the questions that have been raised regarding the parking are going to require some engineering study, which is, doesn't come free. Sorry, thank you. I'm just wondering how the select board is going to handle that. If there's no authorization to spend, Article 17, says that there's a total cost not to exceed $75,000, and it's definitely advisory and non-binding. But if there's nothing in the budget, then that sort of precludes us from considering it in any sort of a proactive way.
I guess my answer is, and you can overrule me, but I'm going to suggest that you can use fund money from Highway Contingency Fund for that purpose, which is adjacent to one of the town highways. That would be my answer. I'm very reluctant to put appropriations before the town meeting that have not been warned. It doesn't give people a chance to read the report and can't get here to know what's going on. And that is the purpose of the town report. And that's the reason why you can't really make significant changes to an article that has been warned already. So I'm going to suggest that you can find the money someplace, but I would not rule in favor of an amendment to the budget at this time. It hasn't been warned.
Okay.
And you may overrule me if you wish.
Mr. Gravis?
Yes.
I suggest that the select board that maybe can come back to us next year and ask for the money and warn it in the appropriate way, and then we'll vote on it next year.
Mr. Raymond suggesting that you come back with a proposal next year that is more inclusive. Other questions or concerns about Article 25 as amended? Those in favor of Article 25, appropriating general fund expenditure of $546,393.87, of which $283,589.98 shall be raised by taxes, etc., etc. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? You have adopted Article 25. Article 26. Shall the voters approve total highway fund expenditures of $817,219, of which $636,872.96 shall be raised by taxes, and $144,280 by non-tax revenues, offset by a prior year surplus of $40,066.04. Will someone move the article, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Linville, and second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brandt. Have we made changes to this article?
Okay. Again, there was a clerical error when the individual numbers didn't add up. The total expenditure is still $817,219, of which $632,872.96 would be raised by taxes. So it goes down by $4,000.
I'm going to accept that as a clerical error in administrative matters since it doesn't change the expenditure. Would someone move the article?
So moved.
Did we already do it?
We already did it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Discussion on the article as corrected? Hearing none, those in favor of Article 26, which is appropriating total highway fund expenditure of $817,219, of which $632,872.96 shall be raised by taxes, and $144,280 by non-tax revenues, offset by a prior year surplus of $40,066.04. Those in favor of the article say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. It is a tradition at our town meetings to honor our graduating 8th grade students. And this seems like an appropriate time to do it. Can't hear you. I'm sorry. We want to honor our 8th grade students from Flood Brook, and this is a good time to do it. They've sat patiently, I might say, through the town meeting. And there is, who's doing this year? Carrie? Carrie Chalmers and Deb Linus. Front and center.
This is the frosting, I think, we're having today. Can you hear us?
Speak
Yes.
right into the mic.
Okay. We're here on behalf of the Rudolph Johnson Memorial Fund. The other members of the fund of the committee are Ron Prouty, who is the trustee of the fund, Nikki Pfister, Dwayne Hart, Karen and I. And every year since probably 1959, the fund has given awards to our graduating 8th graders. So I'd just like to invite Jackson Proctor, Autumn Laverly, Isaiah Lear, Dylan Papelo, and Eva Morrow to come up and stand right there. While they're coming up, these are all our 7th and 8th graders. The kids who are sitting there are 7th graders, and we'll see them all up here next year. For the last couple of years, we've asked the kids, can you hear us? For the last couple of years, we've asked all of the kids to tell us, write letters to us and tell us about their special academic and extracurricular activities. And then we've asked them to tell us how a grant of $200 from the Rudolph Johnson Fund could help them further these interests and help their learning as they go on to high school next year. And these kids wrote wonderful, really thoughtful letters, so we'd like to share with you what they've said about their strengths and their dreams. Usually, you'll remember Nikki Pfister does this. Nikki can't be here today, so it's going to take 2 of us to fill her shoes. And we hope that Nikki will be back next year. She just couldn't be here today. So, Carrie will start.
Okay, Jackson Proctor. Jackson's favorite school subject is math, definitely. He's always loved to do math, and it's something he's always been quite good at. He also loves to mess around with technology and would love to be able to take classes building computers and robots. His other passion is sports. His family loves to play sports, and he's grown up playing sports. He does basketball and soccer. And he would like to use the money to buy a new computer or sports equipment, or use it to find his passions. He doesn't know what he wants to do when he grows up, but he knows he wants to find something he loves, and he will stick with that. So thank you, Jackson, for your hard work. Autumn Laverly. Autumn's family moved to Weston on her 4th birthday, and she will always call it home. She loves to bake and has been making her own recipes since she was 8 years old, and she would like to have her own bakery someday. In school, she participates after school in soccer and drama, basketball, as well as being a student ambassador and a peer mentor. She also loves the outdoors and spends time with her family hunting, fishing, and kayaking. And she's very excited about studying the culinary arts. With the grant money, she would like to buy a computer to stay organized in school and be efficient with her homework. Dylan Papelo. Dylan Papelo has a passion for repairing and working on recreational vehicles, and he recently restored a Honda go-kart. He loves to ride snowmobiles and ATVs, and his favorite subject is math, because he likes working with numbers. He's been working with his father at Kinhaven for the past few years and has learned to do many carpentry projects and building decks and stairs and remodeling. And his longer-term goal is to attend an ITT tech school for mechanics and to own his own shop locally. So with his grant money, he will use it to pursue opportunities to take any specialized classes around mechanical repairs or engineering to develop this skill. Thanks, Dylan.
Isaiah Lear prefaces his letter with a quote that I'll give you. He says, "I appreciate what you are doing for us 8th graders in Weston, because over the years it has helped the 8th graders before us, and I hope it will for us too." Isaiah likes to paint and draw and make videos because these help him feel more creative. He likes to make videos because on YouTube he gets lots of positive feedback from the work that he presents, and it makes him feel like he has a good community watching and liking what he does. One other thing, activity that he really enjoys is drama. This spring he's participating in the school play at Floodbrook because people have said to him that he's a good actor. There's another nice quote from Isaiah, he says, I'm finding that if I practice my role and work hard, I do well with this. With the money that, with the $200 from the fund, he would like to buy drawing and video supplies so he can draw better and make better videos. And he thanks us for our consideration. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Eva Morrow right here. Eva is looking forward to going to Burton next year because she is looking forward to the experience of having different learning opportunities and meeting new people. After school, she likes to ski, play the piano and the guitar. She's on the yearbook committee. She participates in Girls on Track. Her favorite academic subject is English Language Arts because she's always learning something and she likes to read and write. And her second favorite academic activity subject is algebra because it challenges her every day. She also likes gym and art, and she likes gym because she can let out some energy before classes, so it sounds like Eva has a lot of favorite classes. She also enjoys traveling. Eva says that after high school she'd like to go on to college because college teaches you about the outside world and opens up opportunities in your future. She says that when she goes to college, she wants to go somewhere outside of Vermont so she can experience what it's like to be somewhere else. With her money, she'd like to purchase a computer because that would help her in high school to keep all of her assignments and papers in one spot. And I think Eva speaks for all of the kids when in her closing statement she says, "Thank you for giving us a chance to improve our learning. It is very cool to get money from my town to help me with my future education." So thank you. Thank you to all of you. Good job. Bravo. Now, while we have your attention, we have something else we'd like to share with you. We'd like to tell you just a little bit about how Act 46 is going to affect us. So when we came before you a few years ago with a consolidation plan, it was under Act 153, the Act provided incentives for voluntary consolidations. And we formed the Mountain Town Regional Education District with Peru, Londonderry, Landgrove, and Weston. We were the first in the state to form a RED under that plan, but only fewer than a handful other districts did the same thing throughout the state. So now the legislature has passed Act 46, which has a lot more teeth. It still provides incentives for consolidation, and if you listen to the news, you'll hear that districts all around the state are moving to consolidate. But the other side of the story is that if we don't act, then at the end of this process, the state will assign you to consolidation. So it behooves us to find our own dancing partners now and make our own arrangements rather than wait and have it be done for us. So Carrie and I are on the RED board. We've spent a lot of time all year long looking into the complexities of this law, but there are really only two features that make a difference to us today. The first is that the minimum size for a school district under the law has to be 900 students. And even with our consolidated district now, we only have 463 students, that from pre-K through high school. So we are forced to do something. The other stipulation that applies to us is that if we want to preserve our school choice, which we hear is highly valued among our communities, that we need to merge with other districts that have the same school choice structure. So right now we run a K-8 school at Floodbrook, and our 9 through 12 kids have school choice. So we provide, we pay tuition for them to go mostly to Burton, but they have choice to go to other places too. So for example, if we were to decide to merge with Chester, Chester has Green Mountain High School. So if we merged with them, then either all our kids would go to Green Mountain High School, or Chester would have to close their high school and give them all school choice. So you have to merge with other districts that have the same structure. So that narrows it down for us to merging with Manchester and Dorset, which also have K-8 schools and 9-12 choice. So we formed a study committee to explore that option. Sunderland, Danby, and Mount Tabor have also joined that study committee, where we have to present a formal plan to the Agency of Education by October, which is a much shorter deadline than we had the last time we did this. And we will be presenting our plan to all of you at a paper ballot in December. So we're also looking for volunteers who'd like to serve on this study committee, which will meet throughout the summer and bring up a plan in October. So, Carrie, do you have anything else to add about that? Do you have any questions?
Why don't we just say, so what this might look like, if it goes through, there'd be, just so people aren't confused between school consolidation and district consolidation, there would be one school board. Let's just keep it simple for now and say we just merged with Dorset and Manchester. We'd have one school board with proportional representation that ran those 3 schools, made decisions for those 3 schools. So it gives, in theory, it's giving the opportunity for more collaborative work between the schools, the administration, and teachers, and it's also giving the ability to shift resources around where they're needed to better adjust to changing class sizes or special programs that you might want to offer. That person perhaps could be able to travel. So those are some of the, real potential improvements with this system. But, the system would look different with one school board for those 3 schools.
And also one tax rate. It would take a few years to merge, but we would have one school board and one tax rate for all of those towns, and one administration. Are there any questions? Yeah. Tim?
It's kind of a minor technicality, but when you say one tax rate, you're talking about what comes out of Montpelier, not after the CLA.
Right. Well, yes, the CLA in each town would adjust each rate to its own CLA. There is a suggestion at Montpelier that they change that and change the way we do CLA calculations, but right now that's what it is. Marguerite?
I don't know if everybody appreciates how much work these people put into doing this. We're talking, weekly meetings and gazillions of hours. And I think you ought to know that all of us appreciate it very much.
It's a little bit easier for us because we've done it before, but the issues, well, you're right, are substantial. And we really urge you to pay attention. When you hear it on the news, even if it doesn't apply to us, educate yourself about Act 46, because you will be voting on it, and it will make a big difference to all of us, to our students and to our taxpayers. And we don't really have a lot of choice except in the way we set up the school district. But we do have to merge.
We're now at Article 27, which is to transact any other non-binding business properly come before the meeting, not acted upon in the previous articles. There's no binding action that can be taken here, and we don't really need to adopt this article, but it's an opportunity to speak about issues that concern you, about the town or other matters. I think one thing I would like the select board to briefly talk about is the closing of what's known as Bridge 98 this early summer on Route 100. Whoever feels, Jim?
Yeah. Can everybody hear me? Bridge 98, I have to keep being reminded of this, is up on Route 100. It's a state bridge, and it's right where Felton Road goes off to the north and the east. And that is going to be replaced this summer. It is the entire project is going to start on June 3rd, is it?
No, it's preliminary work starting in May, but the road will be
Right.
closed June 3rd to the 24th.
Right.
There'll be a set of stoplights.
So as far as, from our view, all the homework and pre-planning that they're going to be doing, staging materials and all that stuff will but will start before June 3rd. But on June 3rd, the road is going to be closed. And it's going to stay closed for almost certainly not more than 21 days, 3 weeks. During that time, on the 3rd, they close the road, they get rid of the bridge, they do all the work they have to do. They have a bunch of prefabricated sections of the bridge that will be staged close to the work area. And at the end of 21 days, we hope that they'll be done. We're told by the folks at V-Trans that that they're actually getting pretty good at replacing bridges. The bridge, or their contractors are, the bridge contractors have a substantial penalty if they go over 21 days. My God, sorry. Can anybody do CPR here? 21 days, and that in recent history they've been actually opening the roads 3 or 4 days before completion, or before the deadline. So during that 21 days, the folks who want to get north on Route 100 or south are going to either start at Greendale Road, if you're coming from the south, turn right on Old County Road up by the Priory, and then down Priory Hill Road, and there you are. And you know, if you want to get to Route 100 to go over to Ludlow, you got to go south on Route 155 for a while and then over the hill, and vice versa for folks who are coming down from the north. And that's going to be a problem that we've been working on with the Priory to minimize the traffic and the disruption with their parking and their services and that sort of thing. But all commercial traffic, the big trucks and stuff, they are required to detour on state roads, and those detours are not nearly as convenient as our detour. So as long as you're not driving an 18-wheeler to go down to Jeff's, and you live in North Weston, as some of us do, the inconvenience is, it will be real, but it's not going to be really substantial. But
what's the commercial detour?
Yeah, do the commercial detour.
I don't know what the commercial detour is. It's on state roads. Basically, it goes down through Ludlow and almost down to Chester and back. It's not pretty for them, but it won't overburden our unpaved roads and stuff. Alman, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just know that they're substantial.
Yeah, the detour for commercial trucking is going to be a problem. Yeah.
They are not, our weight limit, they're not allowed.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions?
Well, there will be an occasional construction vehicle using our.
Right. Did everybody hear that? There will be an occasional construction vehicle using our roads, and you know, that sort of thing has happened before.
Jim?
You have a question, Jim?
Are we getting another meeting with V-Trans or someone
Yes.
closer to the project that people should be watching for?
Good point, Tim. We had at V-Trans, actually the contractor, which I think is Belden, was going to address one of our select board meetings, and we asked them if they would come and address you all at town meeting, and they declined. I have no idea why. But they are going to be making a presentation, I think, if I'm getting the sense right, within the next...
April.
Okay, yeah, month or two. Yeah. And that'll be warned, you know, on our agendas, and if anybody has any concerns or questions, you can come to that meeting or watch it on TV. Any other questions?
Well, I just wanted to say to anyone who tries to go over my bridge to get onto Felton Road, don't do
Are there other matters to come before the meeting? Marguerite?
I think most of us have noticed that little children crossing the road in front of the little school is precarious. But I was wondering if, as an interim solution, we could do what a lot of other communities do, which is have crossings. I bet we could find enough people here who'd be willing to go down there at 9 and noon and 3 or wherever we be most needed. Now, what does that take to happen? I'm sure the select board is involved. I mean, it's a local road, so I don't know if we need the state. But how complicated would that be? And it would be for the select board to do it or the little school. If it's a good idea, if it's a good idea.
Does the select board wish to become crossing guards?
If the town moderator would agree to serve proportional hours.
Other comments, Bill?
Back to the traffic situation. Has anybody thought of approaching the traffic department, if that's their jurisdiction, about changing the speed limit on Lawrence Hill and putting up a school crossing sign?
Yeah, we've been approached about local speed limits on in a number of different places. One was on Chester Mountain Road, and I don't think there's anyone in town who thinks that traffic is going slow enough unless they're in their car driving. And we have spent more than a little time talking about this issue in the select board. And the problem with setting up speed limits around town instead of just relying on the default Vermont statutory speed limit of 50 miles an hour is that you have to do it on all roads. And you know, I can tell you that my personal opinion is that the speed limit on Ettinger Road, where I live, should be about 3 miles an hour, and the speed limit on every other road should be as fast as I want to drive. And I'm sure all of you have similar opinions about your own roads, and I know I'm being facetious here, but it's an incredibly complicated problem, and you know, you could say we've been sort of chicken to really address it head on, because it is, trust me, incredibly fraught with trying to represent everybody properly and to do the job right. And at some point, maybe we will do it, but so far, we've come to the conclusion that it's better to just go with the status quo and hope for the best, because it's a very, very complicated problem to deal with.
Would a school crossing sign or a school sign cost a few dollars, be a lot cheaper than $75,000 invested in
That's going to be part of our considerations for sure.
Wayne, I didn't get an answer to the question. I got,
I'm not sure what the question was, Marguerite.
the
Say it
question
again.
was, if we wanted to organize crossing guards for them, is that a matter for the select board, the little school? I would assume we need some kind of legal authority to hold up a stop sign. Have you considered it? Would it be something that you could do?
It sounds to me as though that question is wrapped into this whole other issue.
Exactly.
Well, yes, but it's an intermediate solution.
So that's a good suggestion.
I was just, in addition to, in conjunction with what Jim was saying, I think this, as it's advisory, non-binding, it's something that we really need to look into the various options we have to increase the safety for the people from the little school and in town, and look at a combination of things. And we have had different suggestions, but I look forward to exploring lots of different options, because it is an issue that we do need to look into.
Other questions, comments, or other matters of business? No?
Dr. Campbell, as a member of the board of trustees of the library, I would like to encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to take the survey that we have out in the lobby. We're looking to see how we can improve our services to the town, including accessibility issues as well. If you take the survey, fill it out, quickly put your name, telephone number, whatever, you'll be entered into a travel drive for $100 as an incentive for you to take the survey. Please see our new library director, Amanda, out there, and take the survey.
Yes, in the back.
This may not be the appropriate place, but since it didn't get put in the message in time, you've seen me outside taking people's, unhappily, your ages and everything, on a survey. There's about 12 towns that have been meeting as part of a community partners meeting out of Neighborhood Connections. We're trying to get dentists into our area. And it's going to be a two-pronged program. One is, there used to be hygienists going into all the schools with their chairs and their equipment, and they would be doing cleaning, but also checking the kids' teeth and knowing when they should be referred to a dentist. The person who was doing that retired, and there's been no one up till now to take that place. We're working with the Vermont Tech School that has hygienists, that's graduating hygienists, to see if we have 3 that are possible candidates to start going into school. But that makes no sense if we have no dentists in the area to whom we can refer. There's one dentist in a 40-mile radius who will take Medicaid, and his waiting list is 8 months. There are no dentists in Manchester who will take Medicaid, and everybody else knows, and I've been doing in front of the IGA or here, and there's people doing this in all of the town meetings from Wardsboro and Townsend through Peru, through Andover, Chester, and here, and Londonderry, and whatever. We're trying to get data to prove to the dentists that we need them. There are 5 dental schools. There are 3 in Boston, Yukon, and 1 in Maine, all of whom are graduating 4-year students. And the 4th year, they're obligated to do community service. They will be willing to come here, but they need dentists to supervise them. We have 5 retired dentists in the area that we are talking with and reaching out to. We're going to need places for this place to go. We're going to need a house for these people to live in, and we're going to need things to get them here. And the purpose more than anything is to see if we can get dentists who will stay here. So if we can get Okemo to give a free pass for come and see kids or adults or whatever until 1 o'clock, no, go skiing until 1 o'clock and then come and see people from 1 to 6. Or you'll have a free supper at the Lane Grove Inn if you come in, or, you know, whatever, golfing but we're trying to get the communities involved. At the communities meeting, we have people from Greg Gould, who's the police person at Bonneville, to the people in food pantries, to Senior Solutions, to the clinic people, to the school people who come to this meeting. So everybody's working on this, so if I approach you, I'm not selling these information to the dentist. I'm trying to get new ones in here. Okay, so eventually there will be more articles and things that we will ask you to do, but we're going to see if we can make this a reality.
Thank you, Dolores. Yes.
I read in the newspaper that some other towns have decided not to print these books anymore for town meeting, that it would be online. Has that been anything that's been discussed in Weston? No.
Yeah, Dennis, it has not been discussed.
Just haven't discussed it.
No, we haven't.
Other questions or comments?
It's to benefit the
A
little
reminder, 2 reminders. One is lunch is available, and I hope you will attend in the basement from the little school. Available at noon, which is about, sorry.
They're actually set up out here, so people who want to get things to go can take it to go. If you want to eat
Thank
here,
you.
you can go
So it's
down.
right outside, you could, can people
So the
eat
food is
downstairs?
out here, right in the lobby, and
It's
there
gotta
are
be
tables
12.
downstairs.
It's going on for long. I am.
Very good. The other
Okay,
thing
great.
is, Oliver mentioned the Economic Development
Don't tell me you made it,
Committee for Southern Vermont. This is what there's a box of maybe 10, 15, 20 copies of this out on the table in the library, in the lobby, if you have any interest. I'd suggest it is worth reading, not only because I wrote it, but because otherwise. Any other business to come before we adjourn the meeting?
I would, a lot of people have been thanked here, but I think we all have thanked you, Wayne. Your dreams are not going to come true in the near future, I'm afraid. You're doing too good a job.
I want to share a little something with you. Mike found this podium in the restaurant downstairs. I think it's the check-in stand for the restaurant when it's open. We used to have another podium that was a little higher and had a slant top to it, but I think Ray Hebers took it to Florida. But no matter what, I found this to be too low because my eyes are in that position where it's either too far away or too close. So last night I built myself a podium out of a shoebox, a binder, and a ruler, and some Scotch tape, and it's worked very well. So this is my 7th grade project for science. A motion to adjourn is in order?
So moved.
People who have been elected into all officers?
Newly elected this year, so select board,
People who have been newly elected to positions should come down here and take the oath of office, is what Tim was telling me, before they depart for lunch. Motion is in order, and it's been made. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.